All right, the picks are in and the NFL draft is over. Shout out to the 257 players that were drafted. I can only imagine what you've put into this dream, to have this dream become accomplished. It's a dream of millions who play football. So shout out to you, 257 who were drafted this year. Now, while I was watching the draft is one of my favorite things to watch. I've been watching it since I was a little kid. I used to watch it when it was all in 2 days or 1 day. I was watching TV all day long. My dad used to be like, boy, stop watching that. But I've watched the draft my entire life. And so this weekend, while I was sitting there watching the draft, I had a couple thoughts, which I'll share with you here. But thinking about the draft and player development and my experiences in sports, I have some thoughts that I'll share. But before I share those thoughts, I have connection to 5 draft picks in this year's draft. So let me tell you stories about those connections. The first person I have a connection to is Patrick Paul, who was drafted in the 2nd round by the Miami Dolphins. Patrick, shout out to you. And shout out to my guy, Alexander Martin, who's going to do an incredible job with Patrick there. But Patrick, we recruited Patrick when I was at the University of Houston over the 2018 season. So Patrick's from Jersey Village, local kid, 6'7". I don't know how schools missed out on Patrick. I mean, it's hard to miss out on a 6'7" kid in Houston, Texas, but they did. I personally wanted to recruit his brother, Chris, who plays for the Commanders. Last time I checked, we got in late and we kind of filled up our board. So definitely didn't want to miss out on Patrick. So we missed out on Chris. We got to recruit Patrick. He signed with us. Unfortunately, we were let go, so I didn't get to see his whole career. I don't know if he remembers me, but I definitely remember his visits. Remember helping recruiting him and helping him get signed to the University of Houston. Shout out to you, Patrick. The next person in the 3rd round, Brandon Coleman, was selected by the Commanders. Shout out to Commanders. Malcolm Blackwell out there, Alexis Dodson out there with the Commanders. Now, Brandon, I don't know personally, but I remember at one point in my career, I was doing some recruiting personnel stuff with player development, and I was watching film of this kid in Denton. And I was like, whoa, this kid's, tall, athletic. You kind of could tell he was like coming into the position, but he was tall. He played hard. And I reached out to him, found out he was from Germany and moved. I don't know if he was a military, I can't remember, but he had moved from Germany. He just began playing football. And I went to our coaches. I was like, hey, y'all, we need to get in on this kid. And unfortunately, we didn't. And he had a great career. He went to play at junior college and went to TCU. He's had a great career. So shout out to you, Brandon, going to the Commanders. The next pick, Layden Robinson, got drafted by the Patriots in the 4th round. And this one is probably, out of all of these, this is the closest I am to any player that was drafted this year. I actually taught and coached Layden his freshman year at Hightower High School in Missouri City, Texas. Most cities stand up. What's up, y'all? And Layden was in my class. Now, Layden was bigger than everybody his freshman year. I think he was 6'3". He was bigger than me. And there ain't a lot of freshmen that come into class bigger than me. And Layden, I love Layden's spirit. He was a big guy and he wasn't one to mess with. And, 9th graders, freshmen, people mess with you, pick on you, different things like that when you're the bigger one. And the big thing I had to press upon him was, hey, you got to ignore the stuff that's not going to help you get to where you want to get to. And I was hard on him. I'm not going to lie, as a teacher and a coach, because he had dreams. He wanted to go to NFL. He wanted to get a college scholarship, or in that order, college scholarship, NFL. And we saw, not only from his size, but his play, that it was a possibility, specifically the college scholarship. And so I'm the type of person, and when I was a coach in player development, if you're going to say this is my goal, I'm going to hold you to it. And it may be a little uncomfortable. And so I was hard on him, and he was like, man, why are you hard on me? But it was really cool. His mom reached out to me and said, thank you so much. He doesn't like you, but he respects you. And that's fine. And I didn't do anything egregious. It's just holding a 14 or 15-year-old accountable. But she always thanked me, and we both went our separate ways. So he transferred to another high school, and then I went to the University of Houston. A couple years later, he is what I thought he was going to be, a big-time recruit, and he came and visited us at Houston. We couldn't recruit him. He was off our radar. He was getting SEC schools, but he came to the camp, hang out with some friends. I saw him. He's like, Coach Jones. I was like, what's up, Layden? And we were chopping it up, and I'm like, man, I'm so proud of you, man. You've been doing a great job, whatever it may be. And we were with his friends. He pulled me to the side, and he said, Coach, I just want to thank you. I just want to thank you for helping me, for holding me accountable, for directing me, for giving me the challenge that I need to get here. And that was a lot. That was a lot for me. I was like, man, Layden, you about to make me cry at this camp. But it was good to see that. I'm really proud of Layden. I've been messaging him off and on social media over the years. Layden, if you see this, I'm super proud of you. You made it happen. It happened. Your dreams have come true. And I'm so excited to play a small, very small piece of your journey. The next one in the 4th round, the Arizona Cardinals. A shout out to Josh Mariner, who will be speaking at the Player Development Conference. If you had not gotten your tickets to the Player Development Conference, check the show notes, get all the information you need. Shout out once again, Josh Mariner. He's the director of player engagement for the Arizona Cardinals. And they selected Dadrion Taylor-Demerson, AKA Rabbit. So I met Dadrion, or Rabbit, at Texas Tech. Well, in Houston, but I was speaking at the Texas Tech football senior retreat, which you can find that video here. And he came up to me right when I walked in the room, shook my hand, said, "Hey, I'm Dadrion. You call me Rabbit. Thank you for being here. Can't wait to hear you." He didn't even know what I was going to talk about. And so I get to talking, and he is locked in. I mean, locked in to not only what I was saying to the other speakers as well, but we did a card where we talked about choices. I talked about choices versus mistakes. You know, there's a difference between a choice. There's a difference between a choice and there's a difference between a mistake. And so we were talking about, you know, who are the 5 people that will help you make better choices? How can you eliminate mistakes? Different things like that. And he was going around the room, seeing what his teammates were writing. I mean, I say this guy was locked in. I had the opportunity to watch him play live as Texas Tech played Kansas here. I'm in Kansas City, so Texas Tech played Kansas. So I got to go visit Kansas. I had to keep it low key though. They told me not to say much because a lot of the players on the Kansas team knew me and they were like, "Hey, if you're going to be on our side, you got to keep it quiet." So I kept it quiet. It was tough. I kept it quiet. But watching him play and watching him lock in on the sideline, and he made an incredible interception over the middle. Not shocked. Watching him play, I was like, "Oh yeah, he's one of the top safeties in the NFL." I mean, you could see it immediately. And then watch him on TV, got to watch him play some games as well. So Rabbit, excited for you. You're locked in. Keep that locked-endedness. I don't know if that's a word, but keep what I saw when I spoke to you. I know you will have a great career. And the last pick, my hometown, the Houston Texans. Let's go. Let me get the Texans hat. The Houston Texans. Let's go. Selected Marcus Harris in the 7th round from Auburn. Marcus actually was at Kansas first, and I got to know Marcus. Marcus was coming in as a gray shirt, and so I was helping him set all that stuff up. Got to know Marcus's family, Miss Pam. Shout out to Miss Pam. And Marcus, I love Marcus because during that process, it was a lot of unknowns as we were trying to do the gray shirt thing, trying to figure out where you're going to stay, where you're going to work, different things like that, school. And he just always had a positive attitude. He kept beat. And as we're trying to figure out this gray shirt process, a scholarship opened up. So he was able to go full scholarship and be there. That fall was really, really exciting. But I just really enjoyed being around him. He worked. He just worked. He did what he did, took care of what he needed to take care of. He took care of the classroom. He was just great to be around. No nonsense. And he had a really good career for us at Kansas, transferred to Auburn, had a great finish of his career there. And I'm just really excited. I'm excited he's going to my hometown, the Texans. That is awesome. Hey, my guy, Jalen Petrie, take care of him. And all in Houston, I know, Marcus, you'll enjoy Houston. So excited for you. And yeah, let's go Texans. So this is a story. Every draft, I have stories. I always look, and it went from like, oh, I've seen this people play. I've seen my cousin play. I've seen people I've played against get drafted. Now I'm getting to see players that I've impacted. Overall, in the role for my time at Houston, Kansas, and Baylor, 27 players that I've served have been drafted. And so that's been a great experience. I don't take that lightly because that's not everybody's story. And so I've been blessed to not only be around great players on the field, but great players off the field as well. Now, you heard me talk about the Player Development Conference. The tickets are in the show notes, but I want to give a shout out to our platinum sponsor, Access Granted. Access Granted. Miss Terrell Nunn is back. She's a 2-time platinum sponsor. You can find podcasts where she's on right here. We thank her so much for what she's doing in this space, how she's supporting those in the player athlete development space, and how she's supporting those who are attending the conference. So yes, Access Granted is our platinum sponsor for the Player Development Conference. You can find out more information about Access Granted in the show notes. Can't thank y'all enough. Access Granted, Ms. Terrell Nunn, thank you so much for supporting the 2024 Player Development Conference. Let's go. All right, so I had 3 major thoughts over the draft weekend, they were just on my mind, and you can check more detailed description of them in the newsletter. But I just had these thoughts about the NFL draft, you know, and the first thought was, I've been in the space. I know a lot of people in the space. I know coaches. I know speakers. A lot of speakers come in and talk about, you know, the room is only 2% that'll make it in the league. And once they make it, only 2% make it past 5 years, whatever it may be. And so we use that to harp on to let a lot of players know, like, hey, this may not happen. Let's be prepared. But we've all been around players that we know are going to the NFL. Like I said, I've been around 27 who have been drafted. Looking at this, I've had been around 2 first rounders, and most of these picks are day 1, day 2 players. And so there are players in your program that you know are going to the NFL. Now, you want to prepare them as well, but my question, and it just made me think, and this is not to call anybody out, it's more just me thinking, how are we preparing those who do have a chance to go to the NFL? How are we preparing those who will be a lottery pick? You know, shout out to you all who do it. You know, how do we prepare them for sudden wealth? You know, I had the opportunity at one of my universities to bring in Luke Fedlam and Bruce Wimbush for one of our possible draftees, but unfortunately it was nixed at the top, and I was really frustrated by that because we knew this kid could get drafted, and we wanted to get the help, or I wanted to get the help that he needed. And so it just makes me think about that, right? Yes, they're a part of our programming. Yes, they're going to do the resume. Yes, they're going to do things, but how are we preparing them for the NFL? And I bring this up because I talk to people who are in this space. Shout out to Jessica Gray, Alexander Martin, and I always ask them, how's the transition? And there is a transition where there's some skills, but it's the aspect of what the NFL looks like. Now, if you're in the space on a college level, I would implore you to reach out to someone at the NFL level and say, hey, what can we do? I have a couple players who I know will get drafted. What helps you as a player engagement professional, as 2 people that are helping me on this side, you on that side, who are helping this athlete and want to help this athlete in their life? What can I do to help prepare them for what's coming? You know, and we'll talk about undrafted players a little later in this podcast as well. But I just think about the ones that are drafted. You know, I had the opportunity to be with Ed Oliver, who was the first round pick of the Buffalo Bills. And I asked Ed one time, I said, Ed, you know, what do you want to do? Like, I know it is what it is. You're going to make it to the NFL. We know it. You know it. Because he's an incredible player, All-American. I mean, it's, you know, sometimes it's just, you gotta, it ain't that hard, you know? And he's like, man, coach, I really want to, like, LeBron James does so much off the field. He does so much off the field. And I just want to, you know, how do I do that? How do I do what I do and play and use my play money to make this? And Ed's interested in horses, ranching. If anybody knows him, you can see him doing it. And so we had an opportunity. We weren't able to reach out to LeBron, of course. we tried, but he did some studies on how they did things. He really paid attention to how athletes were, you know, extending their money. So that was pretty cool having that conversation with him. And so it's, you know, and once again, I'm just wondering, you know, what are we doing? One way you can help is the NFLPA. The NFLPA has a pipeline to the pros with Willis.Whalen. Shout out to Willis.Whalen. But they come around for free. I saw Antoine McClain actually just did this with his agent day. They come around for free, educating college programs about the aspect of transition into the pros. And I could give you Willis's contact here. You can email me. I'll connect his email. But yeah, shout out to NFLPA. They help with that. When I was at Baylor, we had opportunity to do some transition programming. Shout out to Marcus Sedberry. He had been a director of player engagement with the Eagles. And so we were going to get together and do some programming to help those players to transition. How we got 7 players that year. We had 6 players get drafted. We knew they were going to get drafted, 5 for sure. And so we wanted to sit down and help transition them. Unfortunately, you all kind of know the situation at Baylor didn't end how we wanted to. So I really missed that because I really wanted to sit down and learn from Marcus and really help with the transition program. And I think it'd be a great idea for you all who are in the role. But once again, reach out to those people in the NFL. They will share. There's a lot of resources there. Because here's the thing. Just like at the college level, we wanted a player to come from high school knowing certain things. The NFL wants players to come well-rounded. I wanted my players to know this because it extends their money. I'm trying to get them to that pension year, right? People will get cut if you're a headache. You can be replaced in the NFL. And so we wanted them to cause no headaches. They're there, they do what they do. And if it comes to the chopping block, you know what? But they're great in the community. They're a great, ambassador for this. They're really great doing this, representing our franchise. That's the conversations we wanted our players to have. So it's not just, oh yeah, turd, cut, And so just asking that was a thought. How are we preparing those who are the 2%, the 3% who will get drafted in the NFL? And if you have any thoughts or you want to share what you're doing, please share it in the show notes or the comments of what you're doing to help prepare in the role, or even some thoughts that you have of how we all could prepare people who are going to the NFL draft. Now, one thing I always told our players, I always told them this: drafted or undrafted, once you get there, go to the owner. The owner is going to have a charity. He or she is going to have multiple charity events. Okay. They're going to have a lot. They're going to be philanthropic in some type of way. Get to those events. Get to them. They shake your hand. Thank you so much for being here. We're so excited for you. Can I sit down with you for 15 minutes? I did some research on you. I see that you have this golf tournament, this gala every year. How can I be a part of it? Why I love the quote Magic Johnson had when his teammates used to be mad that he hung around Dr. Buss. He was like, I'm a millionaire. I'm hanging around millionaires. I want to hang around billionaires because billionaires hang around billionaires. So that's something I always tell my players. Once you go in there, go find that the owner of the team, the ownership of the team, whatever you want to call it. And make those connections. All right. Thought number two is something that really hit me in it. I was kind of nervous to do it, but when it really happened my first year at the University of Houston. So my first year at the University of Houston, we had 3 players drafted. We had a lot of players signed, undrafted free agents, and they actually stayed in the league. Some are still in the league. It's pretty awesome. And it was weird for me because I came in in January. They were in their senior year. They got drafted. So I kind of felt like, they don't really know me. I reached out to them, said congrats. And even some former players came and got to know me. And so what I realized is this: you have to stay in contact with these guys. Now, I was more like, hey, I'm the new guy. They know me, but I'm the new guy. We've been here probably 11, 12 months together. But do they really know me like that? And I was also like, there's a lot of people pulling on them, but they want positive messages. There's a lot of people that are asking things of them, be it tickets, jersey, money, whatever. Can you show up here? But I just want to encourage them. How's camp been doing? How are you doing? Different things like that. And I finally reached out to one of the players, and the player was like, I want to say, it was Tyus Bowser, who's with the Baltimore Ravens. And I reached out to him. I was like, hey, man, hope camp's going well, different things like that. Because we always sent gear to our players for camp. And so I just texted. He's like, man, it's good hearing from you. And I was just like, it kind of took me back. Like, man, I haven't been in contact with these players that I've been around. So it's like, okay, I'm with these players. And even though I was with these players for 12 months, you make an impact and you're there in their life. You're a positive reinforcement in their life. And there's that, you just got drafted. You got 400,000 messages, right? And it comes to that point when it's over and people are talking about the 2025 draft, right? They already got the top 25 people out. And who's my support system? So I will always say, if you're in that role and you're nervous, maybe you're in student athlete development, maybe you're academic advisor, whatever it may be, reach out to them if you have a relationship. Hey, congratulations on getting drafted. A month later, hey, as you prepare for camp, these are the 3 things that I noticed in you, and I want to make sure that you know to keep those things going because this is what makes you successful. They get their first sack, their first touchdown, their first start, their first game, preseason game. Hey, good luck. Do your thing. We're cheering for you. We got your back. It's just those little touches that over my career, and I can still get better because I'm not in it. And so I can still get better with that because even this is a thought I want to share with you all. But even to this day, one of the cool things happened last year. I was at the Super Bowl last year in Arizona, and Josh Jones, who was with us at University of Houston, he was with the Cardinals at the time. And I texted him, hey, Josh, I'm in town. He's like, man, where you at, E. Jones, man? You should let me know, man. I'm going to try and swing through because I saw one of his teammates. And I was like, hey, Josh, man, I saw one of your teammates. He's like, Jones, you in Arizona? So it's like I'm doing a better job of that. One thing I'm doing this year is whenever the Kansas City Chiefs play a team and I have a former player on that team, they come to the city, I'm reaching out to say, hey, can I come to the team hotel and say hello? Sometimes they may not get back. Maybe sometimes it's not. They may say, it's tough. We got to focus. We got these rules. Fine. I just want to let them know, hey, I'm in the city. This is where I live. I'm excited for you. Would love to see you if I can. But if not, cheering for you. So it's one of those things where that impact you made in their life, no matter how small, it's always great for them to hear from you. Remember, although they're getting pulled in so many directions, there is still space for you. And then my third thought is the undrafted rookies. And so we all know that every single player that declares, every single player that's a senior will not get drafted. We all have some head scratchers on, hey, he didn't get drafted? Like, how did he not get drafted, right? Because of the production they had at the college level. It's going to happen every year. I know being in it, the NFL is a size and speed league. So you may have a player who really, really ripped it up at the college level, and just based off size and speed, the NFL, they're going to err on size and speed. If I'm going to get chewed out by the GM or the head coach, I'm going to say, hey, he was big or he was fast, my bad. And so I learned that from a scout accent. But there are going to be a lot of players who will go undrafted. And for some of these players, undrafted may be a better situation to get drafted. I don't know if you all know this, but around the 6th and 7th round, teams start calling. Let's say I'm going to put myself in a situation. I can never be in a situation, but I'm going to put myself in it today. All right, I'm sitting there at 6th round, and I could get drafted, but I got the Houston Texans, Dallas Cowboys, New Orleans Saints, Miami Dolphins, Tampa Bay Buccaneers all on the line. And they're saying, hey, we want to draft you. This is what we have. This is how you're needed. This is how much money we can pay you. And in some of those situations, players will turn their phones off because the situation for me to make it in the league, because that is the goal. You want to make it, not only make it, to stay in the league. That is the goal. Is I could get drafted by a team that has, this team could draft me, but they could have 8 D linemen, right? Where am I going to get on, right? Or I can talk to this other team that's not going to draft me, who has 5 D linemen, and I can get in rotation. 2 of those guys are 36 and, are older veterans. And so there's some players that turn their phones off and they get to pick the situation. And sometimes when you get to that later round, because the money can be about the same in some cases or near, it's better to pick where you want to go. You have an opportunity to pick where you want to go, which is very close and similar to college, where you get to pick where you want to play college football, right? You get to pick where you want to go and go from there. Now, with that, it can be, even though you get to pick a situation, it can be disheartening because everybody wants to get drafted. I understand it. I understand it. And I'm never going to tell a player, hey, don't worry about not getting drafted. That's your goal. You can do it. But it's still an opportunity. Now, in this, they need support as well. Now, the other thing they need, because I have people that work in the league and they tell me this, they need the truth as well, right? That first round player is going to have a long leash. It is what it is. They're going to have a long leash. I'm not saying that every single first round player is going to do stuff that's not in line, but I'm just saying they're going to have a long leash. If you are undrafted, you cannot make a mistake. And so with undrafted guys, when I do have a conversation, I'm able to have a conversation. It is, hey, congratulations to you. Go in there, leave it all on the line. Show up an hour early, leave an hour after everybody. Be there, know every single position. Don't cause headaches. Work out, stretch, be in a training room. The more people that know your name in a good way helps you around the building. But do not make a mistake. You need to have a truth. The truth is, yeah, you're in the NFL, but you don't have the security of that first, second, and maybe even third round pick. Some fourth, fifth round picks. I saw them, they didn't make camp. There's one team that drafted his O-lineman in the 4th round. He didn't even make the team. And so telling the rookies, even all of them, honestly, to have a conversation with your first round guy all the way to your undrafted is like, hey, this is cool, but they will find another you. They will draft next year to replace you. There is some generational talent in certain picks in certain areas, but overall, they're replacing the next year. It's just like recruiting in college to an extent. And so I think there's some care for those who are undrafted. Hey, it is what it is. Let's go. Everybody wants a chip on their shoulder, but you have to be intentional and smart, because the chip's not going to help you make it into and stay in the league. Chip's not going to help you stay. Being strategic will help you stay. Showing up, knowing what you need to do. Having a chip on the shoulder is not going to help you study your playbook. If you didn't study it in college, you ain't going to study it in the league. So just being real with guys, and there's conversations that may be a little uncomfortable. Guys may not like it, but you have that relationship, right? You have that relationship. Hey, you struggle watching film at this level. Okay, you need to watch all the film. When do you report? Next week. You need to watch film. Start watching film this week. Okay, it's Monday. Watch film every single day. Every single day. Create a habit. Put your phone down. Do whatever you need to do. And so there needs to be something there for undrafted. Now, there are a ton of undrafted success stories. I could go down the line. The one that comes up to my mind the fastest right now is Kurt Warner, right? There's a lot of Hall of Famers that are in the NFL who are undrafted. And so there's a great opportunity for them as well. So those are my 3 thoughts about the draft that I had this weekend. Once again, I said I wasn't going to do a podcast because I was preparing for the conference, which I am. Shout out to my team, Evan, Lauren, and Caitlin. We are crushing it. We are ready. Shout out to the speakers who will be there, attendees. And once again, if you have not purchased your ticket, please purchase it in the show notes. And let me tell you what you get with the ticket. So you get access to all these sessions. You get access to the networking night, which is going to be incredible. You get access to a replay of the conference. And you just get access to opportunities in this space. So that's what you get with the ticket. And let me not forget the fourth thing, and this is not a thought, but this is observation. So the draft was here in Kansas City last year. And if you have opportunity to go to the draft in your city, I went on the last day because I didn't want to be around all those people. My wife calls me bougie because ever since I've been in sports, I've always had access, as you can see, to the sideline, right? And now I'm just like, I don't want to, like, it's different. When you're on the sideline and you get into the fans say some crazy stuff. There are some fans who you can tell. Anyway, long story. But it was a great experience. And one thing you see at the draft is you see a lot of people. There's a lot of people from around the country, a lot of people from other countries cheering on their team. It's a pretty cool experience for kids, local high school players. They really bring the environment in. But one thing I see is, like, people are passionate about their teams. And it just reminds me that player development, athlete development, we are important because there's a lot of expectations and a lot of, like, people just see these players, as you know, as a cog to the team's success. And now when you add in prop betting and different betting, it can be a lot. A lot of players have come out and talked about it. A lot of coaches have come out and talked about it. And so this was a reminder to me of the necessity of having people in the space to uplift athletes and to create positive touch points and seeds in their life. And so once again, that was just something I thought about for my draft experience in Kansas City. It looked like it was incredible in Detroit. There's a lot of events. If you have opportunity to go to one, I would always suggest to go to one. But also remember, you see the fanatical just actions of these fans. Remember that you're in the lives of athletes to see them as people. Well, that's all I have for today. I want you to check out this video right here about the Player Development Conference. I'm so excited for it. We're almost 2 weeks away at the recording of this video. But as I always say, go out and create generational impact. Don't wait. Create that generational impact. When? Today. Y'all have a great one.